how in the world do we have a $45,000 loan on a car that is worth $28,000?
I'm honestly not sure, man. The purchase value was like 52. I didn't necessarily like have a strategic game plan. Just went into a dealership, talked to a guy. The payments were like 770. Hey everybody, my name is Eric Walker. I am 36 years old and I'm calling in from the Midwest region. To be exact, Elkhart, Indiana.
Awesome. What do you do for a living out in Indiana, Eric?
As of right now, I'm actually in between jobs, but I also have a small business that I kind of started, which is a digital advertising agency. And then I also have an NIL marketing agency, and I'm doing government contracting. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I also have a potential job opportunity with FedEx.
Okay. Got a lot going on then between all those. So what was your annual income last year and what is your projected annual income this year?
So last year, the most previous job that I did have, I was working for an advertising agency. We worked on a World Cup campaign, did a few projects. One of our clients was Xfinity and Comcast. So we did a few things with like Telemundo. And while I was there, that position was a salary position as an analytics manager, making about $112,000 a year. But unfortunately, I was terminated from that position in May. Then I started working with PepsiCo for a little bit. So roughly, I'll probably say last year I grossed maybe about 65,000 was about my gross that I made overall.
And then what are you projecting to gross this year?
This year, right now, I would probably say maybe 40, maybe to 50,000, just because I'm kind of in between jobs. And ideally, I would like to, get back into that 112 to 140 range. I've had a few offers that were around like 140 to 200,000, but at this rate, I'll probably say maybe about 50 is probably where I'm projected to make so far.
What's happening with those jobs if you got offers in the 112 to 140 range?
So when I was working for Spark Foundry, I had another company that reached out to me on LinkedIn, and they were interested in having me interview for an associate director job, which did pay $140,000. I didn't get the job offer for that. And then there was another company over in San Francisco that also interviewed me for a $200,000 job, and I just didn't get the job offers from those. Right now, I've been trying to work with Robert Half, which is the consultant firm or temp agency that actually helped me get the job with Spark Foundry. I actually just reached out to one of the recruiters today to try to see if they could be able to kind of get me back in, pretty much back in the loop and be able to find other job opportunities within that range.
Okay, so the previous opportunities were last year when you were applying and interviewing different stuff. But this year, right now, you're doing some of your own agency work, some contract work. You're looking at other full-time employment opportunities, and it sounds like you're going in the right direction of, okay, let's find temp agencies or staffing agencies that can help put you in a good spot, increase your income, and get a full-time job. Does that sound right?
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely say that's kind of my plan right now.
Okay, 2 quick questions. First is, how many jobs would you say you're applying to a week right now?
Roughly, I'll probably say maybe 5 to 10 jobs.
A week?
Yeah.
Okay. That seems a little low, I guess, from my point of view. If you're trying to kind of hustle to get a new job, 5 to 10 a week, especially competitive job market out there. There's a lot of companies have cut back on hiring, and it's definitely a competitive world out there from what I've heard talking to some different people. So 5 to 10 seems like it's probably on the low end. I would probably say try to shoot for 20 to 40 a week, because at the end of the day, it's probably shots on goal with all the algorithms and HR software that people use, and it could just be a numbers game at this point to start landing interviews and start landing offers as well. But that's just one suggestion off the bat when it comes to jobs. Okay, so 40 to 50K across the different areas right now. With FedEx, is that what type of roles are you applying for with FedEx right now?
Yeah, that job is just a regular delivery job, just to kind of start off with, just so that way I can actually get some sort of income, just because my most recent position, I ended up actually getting back into teaching because I have a few different degrees. I have an MBA, I have an MS in digital marketing, and a bachelor. So I kind of qualified to be able to work in education or to work as a substitute teacher. So I just kind of fell back into substitute teaching because at the time, I kind of fell into a financial hardship back in March where I got evicted from my apartment because of the job loss that I had last year in May. So that actually, was just the only opportunity I could get. Applied for a few jobs with like Walmart. I also applied for a job with Snackcraft, just so that way I could try to have some sort of income on top of working like as a substitute teacher. But the problem there was that I was kind of overqualified for some of the positions. So for me personally, my situation is that I don't necessarily have 5 to 8 years within one position or one job. So when I apply for a lot of positions, that's the first challenge. And then the second challenge is that when I apply for entry level positions or just, basic positions to try to get into a company, I'm overqualified for it because I have so much diverse experience, and I'm overeducated with so many different degrees.
I definitely see that some entry level jobs are not going to want to hire an MBA person because they might say, "Hey, you're going to leave in the next time you get a job offer." I don't know the ethics behind it or if there are ethics, but like if you remove certain things from your resume when you're applying to those entry level positions, maybe not putting that you're an MBA on those when you're applying for those entry level ones. That could be something you talk about in the interviews, but maybe to get to the first round, removing the MBA from your resume might be something to get your foot in the door, prove to them, "Hey, I'm smart, but like I'm also not overqualified for this job." So something you could figure out how can you tweak certain resumes for certain jobs to not overqualify yourself. But I think it's good you're at least hustling, trying to find work in different places, even if it is Walmart, just to get your income going up and to find opportunities during this time. So on that note, how would you kind of rate your current financial situation on a scale of 1 to 10?
In all honesty, I would probably say probably on the low end, like maybe like 2 or 3.
Okay, and why do you say
Just
that?
because I feel like when I did have that job making 112 a year, I kind of, although it felt like a lot of my hard work had finally paid off, my living situation had changed. I had bought my first car, so that became another expense that I had to, kind of play into factor. Then at the time I was dating somebody who wasn't working. So realistically, that 112 wasn't just my income, it was me taking care of 3 people total, including myself. And then also with my expenses were I'll probably say base expenses. I had to spend at least 2,500 a month on rent, my car note, and that didn't necessarily include, additional expenses like going out to eat, food expenses. I was constantly, running to McDonald's or fast food throughout the week just to kind of take care of the kid and everything like that. So I feel like the main reason was that I hadn't actually put together a strict budget, and I didn't stick to that budget because of the situation with me, kind of taking on the responsibility of another person, and they're dependent as well.
Yeah. So lifestyle creep got you a little bit with a new apartment and new car, and then obviously other life with having to take care of other individuals. And yeah, if you make more money, doesn't necessarily mean you're able to save money because lifestyle creep happens really quickly, and then the money's gone out the door if you don't have a strict budget. If you don't really track where your spending is going. It's why over like it's like 49% of Americans making over $100,000 a year live paycheck to paycheck, and it's because same thing happened to you is, hey, your income increased, but then you go on a nice vacation, or you go and finance a new car, or you go and do X, Y, and Z, get a new place to live, and that money disappears really quickly, and you find yourself still struggling paycheck to paycheck even after a big income jump. What was your income prior to that $112,000 a year job?
Prior to that, I worked at Spark Foundry for about 2 years. So from about November of 21 all the way to May of 23. Prior to that, I was working for CVS, working from home. I think I was making like maybe 17, maybe $18 an hour as a customer service representative.
Okay, so you had a big jump then over the course of a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, on that note, let's dive into current debts. I have them listed in front of me, so I'm going to list them out. And then I know these are probably numbers that are, I think, 6 weeks old or so. So let me know if anything has changed drastically up or down. But student loans, $254,544. Credit cards, $1,485. Car loan, $45,391. And then other debt, $1,250. Is that all about accurate now, or has anything changed in the last few
I
weeks?
would definitely say there has been additional stuff. So if I were to add all of that together, because the main expenses that I have right now, so I still owe on my apartment that I had. I think I owe like maybe $2,000 or $3,000 on that. There's my storage unit that I have my stuff from. I think I'm behind like maybe 3 or 4 months with that. So I owe like maybe $400 or $500 on my storage unit. My credit card balance went from that 1,400 to about 2,500 as of right now. From just me thinking off the top of my head. Then the bank accounts that I did have when I first started to apply to do the podcast, those accounts I don't have anymore. So the current account that I currently have is Huntington Bank. And before I was working with a consumer's credit union. And what happened was I was talking to somebody on Twitter. They pretty much, talked to me saying that they wanted to kind of take care of me or have me be their sugar baby or whatever, sending pictures, videos, everything like that. And I pretty much got scammed, man. That's pretty much what happened. They DM me on Twitter, talked to me a little bit. We exchanged numbers. We went from talking on Twitter to talking on just texting. So when I tried to call the person, they never answered. And originally what they were saying was they wanted to send me $300 every week as an allowance. So I was like, okay, sure, whatever. We went from just a texting conversation, and then when I would try to call or FaceTime, they wouldn't answer. So I found it really, really suspicious that they weren't answering whenever I would call, but they were responding to text messages, long paragraph texts about, how much they want to spend time with me, be with me for the rest of their life, selling this big dream about me being the love of their life type of idea. I kind of fell for the bait, being that I had been in a relationship and I was kind of, emotionally distraught, and was like, sure, I just got out of a relationship where I was doing everything for somebody, so I wouldn't be upset if a woman came across and felt like she would want to do the same. So I kind of fell for that. They ended up getting access to my accounts, both my Chase account and my Consumers Credit Union, and Consumers Credit Union had to actually close out my accounts because of that fraudulent activity. So they felt like, okay, because you have fraudulent activity going on, we no longer want to be able to actually have you as a customer. The one thing that I did like about Consumers Credit Union was they had a line of credit for about $800. So you could be able to actually withdraw your account all the way up until negative like 750. And ideally, it's pretty much just like a short-term loan, and you pay it back over the course of 4 months without having to apply for any kind of line of credit. They don't do a background check for as far as your credit score, but it was like an additional way to have access to extra money if you were in a financial hardship. So that was one of the things I did like about Consumers Credit Union. Yeah, that's kind of where things were for me from that time.
That's a lot to unpack right there. How much did this person get out of your bank account by getting access to your accounts?
I don't think they were able to get anything from my accounts, but I think either they tried to send me like $2,000 or $3,000, and when they tried to send it to me, it like triggered something on my account because they asked for my username and my password to be able to access the account. So when I gave them that information, I got a notification saying, hey, did you authorize, access from your account in this location? I okayed it. And then when I okayed everything, that was when the bank themselves saw what was going on, and it kind of made them feel suspicious about the different types of activity and everything like that. So they ended up closing out my accounts and terminating my account.
It's called pig butchering, is kind of what one of the phrases that happens about this. Like, it's like online romance scams and stuff where people, I forget where it's based, but people are basically like in these call centers, and their whole job is to just try to swindle people into like these romance scandals, finding them on the internet and getting access to their accounts or getting them to send them money. But it sounds like that's kind of what happened to you, and they pick on vulnerable people that are susceptible to stuff like this. And like you said, you're just come out of a relationship and not in a great spot when it comes to relationship side. So you kind of fell into those words that they're trying to swindle you for and get into your account. So terrible to hear that happen, but hopefully that's a lesson that prevents you from getting caught up in any scams in the future. And by the looks of it, they shouldn't have had access to, even if they could get much money, to your account, since there wasn't much money in there at the time. So I guess that's one bright side of it. They couldn't go and steal the entire world, but hopefully that's a lesson for you and for anyone watching, is if it sounds too good to be true, and if they don't answer phone calls and FaceTimes, then probably should stay away from it. But
definitely when the communication is odd, when you call somebody and you have their number, but then they respond via text, that right there should be a red flag.
So hopefully that's a lesson, and we can't change the past. We can't change that happen. So let's figure out how do we learn from that, and how do we just continue to improve your financial situation moving forward. So, okay, so updating the debts with the $500 in the storage unit, $2,500 for the credit cards, and then the apartment, you said $2,000 to $3,000. So I just put $2,500 just as a middle estimate. So that's total debt is $306,685. And assets, what is the current value of the car?
I want to say the value of the car is probably like maybe 25, 28, the most, somewhere around there probably.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 22 Jeep Grand Cherokee, I think WK.
How in the world do we have a $45,000 loan on a car that is worth $28,000?
I'm honestly not sure, man.
What did you buy it for?
So originally when I first got the car, I think the purchase value was like 52. So the original line was 52,000. But the only way I was able to actually afford the car was because of the job that I had. So if I didn't have that job that I had, making $112 a year, I wouldn't have qualified to be able to even get the car. So being that I had that particular job, that kind of helped with my financial picture for me to be able to go in and be able to have a down payment and say, hey, this is how much I make, this is how much I can be able to afford. And they kind of use that as a projection to say, okay, we can be able to get you into something like this. The reason why that the particular car that I purchased was because at the time I was dating somebody who worked for Chrysler. They were able to give me a discount, which was only like $500 off, which really isn't much.
So one month car payment.
Right. So the person was able to give me a discount on the car, but they kind of applied the pressure of saying, hey, you have to be able to get it before February because the discount code would expire. So I was in a tight window to purchase a vehicle around February, and I had only been on that job for maybe less than 90 days, roughly about 90 days. I had started in November before, so I didn't really even think twice about what kind of car to get. And then my parents were also, because at the time I didn't have a car, the most recent car that I had in 2020, I got into an accident with my car. So my car got totaled out from the insurance company. Luckily, the value of it was like maybe less than $500, but what the insurance company paid was like 3 or 4,000 towards the damage. So that money at the time was used towards my rent because of the pandemic. And then in 21, I started the job that I had started with Spark Foundry. So that qualified me to be able to get another car once the following year came around. And the only reason why I chose that particular car was because I kind of, my parents were like, hey, you need to get your own car, get it in your name, and be able to take care of the bill, because they were like, hey, you got a decent job, go ahead and, try to find your car. So that was what I did. I went shopping, kind of looked around, wasn't too sure where. And then that particular person that I met, they said, hey, I can be able to help you get a discount on a vehicle through Chrysler or through Jeep. So they kind of recommended, hey, go to this dealer, just make sure you give him the code. I gave him the code. He put all the information in once I came around to go shopping for everything. I didn't necessarily have a strategic game plan to buy a car at the time. I just kind of went into a dealership, talked to a guy.
Talk to a salesman who gets paid more money. The bigger, nicer car he sells you, and if you finance it, they get even more money. And fell into the trap of car dealers here in America.
Yeah, the American dream, right?
So that car payment you put is about $650 a month. Do you know what the interest rate is on
I
that?
believe it's probably maybe less than, I want to say it's maybe 8 or 9. The interest rate is kind of high for what it is.
How many years is the loan
I
for?
believe the loan is a 10-year loan, if I'm not mistaken.
Typically, cars are somewhere in the range of 5 to 7. I haven't seen 10 years much. Some I think do offer 8 years, but I mean, if you took out $45,000 at 9% interest rate over 8 years, that's a $659 a month car payment.
Yeah, when I first got it, the payments were $770.
Oh wow.
So I was paying roughly, yeah, when I had that job, that was why I said my minimum expenses were $2,300 a month, because my rent was $1,500 and then my car payment was $770. So I just threw an extra $30 on there to round it up to $800 every time I was making my payments.
Okay, so we got some work to do here, because with $306,000 worth of debt, we got the car. So as we have this car, $28,000. Do we have any retirement accounts?
I don't even know if I want to, if I won't even talk about that one.
Have you pulled all the money from it?
Yep. So when I lived in that last apartment in May of 23 was when I lost the job that I had. I wasn't being patient, kind of rushed into getting another apartment. A friend of mine was able to help me get approved. So I got into another apartment probably July. And by October, so roughly I have maybe about, I want to say maybe about 15,000 set aside. I want to say it was maybe 10 to 15, but it was a lot that I had in my savings account at the time for my 401, because most of my, I think I put maybe 500 out of every paycheck towards my 401. So when me and my partner broke up in I think September of last year, so I had the job at Frito-Lay, was working there from July to August. Me and my partner kind of separated. She moved out and moved with her family, or with her sister. Kind of put me in a bad situation, because at that point she was working and she had an income, but the only income that I had was from the Frito-Lay job. I lost the job at Frito-Lay because of my health conditions, because I have diabetes. My doctor didn't get my prescription over to the pharmacy, so it pretty much resulted in me losing the job because of that. I had lost my dog, and then my girlfriend had left. So the only way that I could be able to kind of get caught up with my rent was to pull from my 401, because once September got here, I didn't have, a job. I didn't have any income. I tried applying for unemployment, wasn't able to get approved for unemployment, wasn't able to get any type of government assistance help with, like DHS and stuff like that. So the only option that I did have was to pull from my 401. I know it was a bad decision. My parents even told me about it. Like, I talked to my dad about it yesterday, and he was like, yeah, you should have never did that. But I didn't have any other choice, because I literally had just got evicted from another apartment in April or May, and I didn't want to have another eviction on my rental history, because that would put me in a worse position when it comes to me being able to, apply for a home mortgage loan or anything like that. So the only option I had was to pull it from my 401. So I kind of exerted all my funds by, I'll probably say, like, maybe October.
Okay.
Most of my money was all gone.
That's all gone. And then savings. Do we have any in your bank account or savings today?
Nope, none left.
Is that at zero? Is that $50, $100?
I'll probably say like maybe $25 in a credit union that I have.
$25. Okay. So that puts, with the car at $20,000 and savings at $25, puts total assets about $28,025. Total debt's $306,685, which brings your net worth to negative $278,660. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Have you ever calculated net worth before?
Nope, never have.
What does that number say to you off the bat?
I'm worthless and I'm dead broke.
You're not worthless. You are not monetarily worth much, but you're not a worthless person. But the beautiful thing is this from here is we can only go up. I don't think, and I hope we can't go down from here. And the goal from here moving forward is hopefully this conversation, hopefully your future from here on out. You always dealt with a lot last year with lost jobs, evictions, some bad financial decisions with getting scammed the car, and like losing your dog is tough. Losing a relationship is tough. So obviously went through a lot the last 12 to 18 months, it sounds like. So now we got to figure out, how does Eric move forward from here? How does Eric continue to get forward? I mean, you're educated, you have got an MBA, you're a smart guy, you're willing to work, you're willing to go apply to jobs at Walmart and other places just to get income coming in. So how do we use those energy and resources and put yourself in a much better spot, so 6 to 12 months from now, we are climbing our way out of this hole and we're continuing to push forward? It's not going to be the easiest road in the world because of the student loans, because of being upside down in the car. But if you got a job that's making $112,000 before, I'm confident you can do it again. And I'm confident that you can learn from your mistakes and say, okay, I made this much money, I was doing well, but I didn't have a plan. So next time when you do get the next job in the coming weeks, you're going to make sure you have a written plan in place. You're going to be following and tracking your budget, and that's going to help you climb out of this hole. And I'm going to be sending you reminders and updates, just asking, checking to see how you're doing, and try to hold you accountable too. And I want you to be reaching out to me and ask me questions where I can help too. But right now, in your current situation, there's definitely things that I'm sure need to change and can help you improve. And just, I'll give you some different tools and resources for you to learn from and watch as well. But that's the biggest thing you can do right now, is start educating yourself more about finances. How do you do a budget? How do you stick to a budget? What are some different budgeting tools you can test and try to understand where your spending is going? Credit cards, obviously we're depending on credit cards right now if we have not much income coming in and not much in the bank account. So what are some things you can do there as well throughout that? So it's not going to be easy, but is it something you want to do? Do you want to change your financial future and get out of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my plan. That's kind of what my plan is.
Good. Before we talk about kind of your current budget and expenses, I want to kind of talk about, Eric, who you are, how we kind of got to where we are today. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, about your childhood, your upbringing, and kind of what you've learned from your parents about money over the years.
So I'll be kind of blunt and honest. I come from a rugged area. I come from low poverty. I wouldn't say low poverty, but I mean, I wasn't, born with a silver spoon kind of thing, because I mean, my parents, they feel like they did well off, but at an early age, when I was like maybe like 16, 17, I kind of knew, just from what I learned in school, and kind of understood that the only way that I was going to have a promising future to avoid my kids having to go through what I had to go through. And I mean, I didn't struggle, but because I was the only child, but I also knew that my parents didn't know a lot of executives, or I'd never seen them, really like in a lot of business acumen, conferences, or being able to be around a lot of like high up executive people. So I kind of knew at an early age that in order for me to put myself into those type of rooms, that I wasn't going to just be able to go and get an undergrad degree. That probably wasn't going to be enough, because that probably wouldn't, it would get my foot in the door, but then I would have to work for the next 15, 20 years to try to go from one position to another. My dad, he worked in manufacturing, regular type of environment. My mom, she worked in a school just as like a computer teacher. So my upbringing, I kind of grew up by myself. I do have other siblings, but my siblings, we're like 20, 25 years apart. So by the time I was there, they were already, out living their lives, finding wives and husbands. Then once I got into undergrad, I went to college, played football for 4 years. Then I got into the military. So both my brothers and a lot of my uncles, they've been in the military. So I had that mindset of, okay, now that I have my degree, I need to have something else that's going to stand out. So that was kind of why I took that route into going into the military, was because I figured my leadership and what I've done on campus, along with me being in the military, I felt like once my resume came across somebody's desk, they would probably see that I had done a lot in college, also was selfless, but also had leadership skills. And then also talked to, like my disciplinary skills as well. Whatever the recruiter told me, I didn't qualify to go to OCS. So he talked me into just signing a reserve contract and going into ROTC. So I was under the impression that ROTC would actually be an automatic scholarship once you sign up. But where things kind of messed up for me was I moved to Kalamazoo too quick with the impressions of, okay, I'm going to be making money from the reserves on the weekend, which is like $200 or $300 a month. But I thought I was going to have a scholarship which would cover my living expenses. So when I went to Western, with the idea of I already have a way to take care of everything. But what I didn't know is I had to actually have a scholarship to be considered a cadet. So I had to earn my scholarship because I didn't have that initial first semester of grades. So I had to study something minor like criminal justice or something. So by that time, I was in Kalamazoo, living there, only in the reserves, and competing for a scholarship as a cadet. So I kind of just felt like, the military, that was when I started to feel like, I don't know if this is what I want to do anymore, because I couldn't pass my PT test. So it was hard for me to actually win one of those scholarships. So from there, I stayed in the reserves, and then I ended up actually I started to work like I think it was with like a juvenile center or something along those lines. So when it came to my finances, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just kind of was working, here and there. I kept pushing off to the side, paying off student loan debt. So I didn't really think, getting into public service, or I didn't think about, working as a teacher or anything like that. I just kind of felt like, I don't have to pay my student loan debt right now. It'll just, kind of take care of itself. So from there, I kind of was like, I need something else that's going to get me in the direction of where I want to go with my life. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Still had the reserves on the back end. And the problem with the reserves was it was only like one weekend a month. And I still had to have like a full-time job or another income. So I tried to, being that I had a passion for sports, I tried to get back into sports, tried applying for a few ticket sales jobs. I couldn't get a job with like an arena team or any type of sports team. So I moved back to my parents' house. And then that was when I started to get into grad school in about 2016. I came across Florida Atlantic University. And while I was at Florida Atlantic University, things changed for me a lot, because I went from just, pursuing a degree to actually learning how to market myself. And that was when I started to fall in love with marketing. And I still love marketing because like everything, I don't know if it's because I'm trying to learn how to market myself strategically, so that way I can be able to actually have the job that I want, or if marketing is just my passion. Because I remember when I was like 12, me and a friend of mine, we did a commercial in my backyard, similar to like a Gatorade commercial, and we called it Boost Juice. And the guy, kind of like Space Jam, you drink this special stuff, and all of a sudden you're dunking like crazy. So we used that as like one of my projects that I worked on in middle school. And I think that was probably like the seed of me understanding that my future was going to be doing stuff like that, because that didn't start to really blossom or to flourish until about 2018, when I was on the verge of finishing grad school. So 2016, I came across this organization called the National Black MBA Association, and they had a chapter in Detroit. So I started to participate in a few different like conferences, started to learn about the organization because I was trying to find ways to pay for grad school outside of using my military money. And I was looking for scholarships for minorities. So that's how I came across that organization. I went to one of their conferences that they had, and there was somebody by the name of John Shoemate who he ended up actually being a portfolio manager for PepsiCo at the time. So when I met him, I was still in grad school, still doing my graduate studies, but he was like a mentor to me because he graduated from FAU as well. And I seen where his career had taken off at. And I was like, I really like what he's doing. You know, I think that's something I would want to be able to do too. So I started to like build a relationship, build rapport with him. And by the time I finished grad school, he was like a VP of marketing. So to me, that kind of just like sparked I guess like a seed of faith in me saying, okay, you know, if this person also graduated from there, you can possibly be able to do or have a career path like this, similar to it. 2018 gets here and I do a magazine, which everything went 180. So by the time 2018 gets here, I'm, you know, out of the military, got discharged. So I didn't fully finish on my contract. And then I was in a digital magazine on the cover of a magazine with like LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Dwayne Wade, Dwayne The Rock Johnson were also featured in this magazine as well. So from there, I started to, from 2018, I went to American Black Film Festival, started thinking about ideas of how to be more creative, how to be able to use different marketing tactics. And while I was in grad school, I strategically learned how to market myself and put myself in different positions so that way when I did finish grad school, instead of me being able to apply for a job, I can be able to have the right contacts that can kind of help, you know, guide my career path. So that was kind of my plan while I was in grad school, was that I was trying to find a way to meet the right people that could be able to open those doors of opportunity versus me continuously applying for, you know, jobs and career paths. I figured if you know the right people, they can help you get in the right direction versus if you just sit there and apply for X amount of jobs, you know, you're sending your resume to an automated system that's just reading and scanning, you know, your resume. So in 2018, everything changed for me. I finished grad school in December. And in 2019, I started to, that was when I started to get into acting and modeling because that magazine kind of opened up different doors of opportunity in the media for me. So once I completed my program at FAU, I came across Full Sail University. And once I enrolled in Full Sail University in 2020, that was when I started to learn about digital marketing.
Wait, time out real quick. So grad school, you got your MBA from FAU. And what was the total cost of that? Like how much you take out in student loans for
I
that?
think that was about, that was about 90 to 100,000 total.
Okay. And then how much was from undergrad out of the 250?
For undergrad, I'll probably say like roughly, I want to say maybe like 60,000 is how much, because before I started grad school, I think I had like maybe less than 100,000 in student loan debt.
Okay. And then after grad school, you said you went to Full Sail. Why'd you go to Full Sail and how much did you take out in debt from there?
Full Sail I know was about 20 to 30,000 by itself. But so I know it wasn't the best idea, but while I was in grad school at Florida Atlantic, I pretty much capped out and maxed out all the student loans that I could because I was having a hard time being able to find a job and I was using the student loan money to actually travel. So I would, you know, apply for.
You're using so we got $250,000 worth of student loans, and we're deciding we're gonna use some of this money for traveling. And I mean, I'm just confused. Like, what did you study at Full Sail? Because you already had undergrad and you already had an MBA. So why more education?
Just because like I was saying, like and even now I've had another program at Concordia University. They reached out to me to do a PhD program or doctoral studies.
That's because they're in sales. They're trying to get new people to come in the door and take out $50,000 in student loans, just like the car salesman.
Yeah. And that's why when I started to get into the job with Spark Foundry, that was when I started to try to put my career path. So while I was working with Spark Foundry, by that time I had already met a few other people that were working in the media and working in marketing and advertising agencies. So during the pandemic, I had enrolled into a school at Miami Ad School, and I met.
Wait, another school? What is this? What is the ad school?
So the ad school was after. Or no, the ad school was for me to put together my portfolio. So I was trying to learn how to be able to, because I had worked on so much. Like, dude, like if I showed you my computer and how much research I've done over the last like 4 to 5 years, it's ridiculous. I got an 80-page case study that I did. I literally stayed up all night working on it. I did a it's called a PESTAL analysis. It's like political, economic, social, tactical, and I can't remember the meanings of them, but I worked on a PESTAL analysis for Dubai. It's like an 80 case study that I did, and I had to actually complete that for one of my from one of my grad programs. So I've done like so much work, and I was like, dude, I don't want to feel like all this work that I've done has gone wasted. So that was where I was like, I need to put it into a portfolio, and like so that way when I apply for jobs, they're not just seeing my resume, they're actually seeing the work and the skills that I've developed to be able to do these things. Like I did a whole valuation challenge, which is like a understanding of, it's like I think it's like a financial analysis or a comparative analysis between two different companies. So the whole valuation challenge I did was for Phonic Robotics and Rockwell Automation. And it was pretty much forecasting which company is a better company to invest into based on their current projection and the future projection. So when I did those type of things, I was like, I need to put these into, some type of portfolio or some type of folder so that people can see that I'm skilled in this stuff. So that was why the Miami Ad School kind of touched home for me.
How much did that cost?
So I think the Miami Ad School I think that was like maybe like, it was either, was it 12,000? I think it was like 12,000.
Oof. Is there any other schooling besides undergrad, grad, Full Sail, this Miami Ad School?
There are other schoolings that I've done, but I didn't have to take student loans out for them.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
If you're getting stuff in the mail for more grad school, more school, this and that, don't do it. You don't need it. You have plenty of stuff on your resume. You have an MBA. I mean, that's what matters the most out of all this. You've completed your schooling. It sounds like from the get-go, you've always been like in the mindset, what can I do to further my resume? What can I do to further my resume? And I mean, whether it's the stuff you did in college in your undergrad days, whether it's going into the military, whether it's your MBA, Full Sail, Miami Ad School, I mean, you're checking all those right boxes there. Now it's how do we apply this to a career? So like you've done all the schooling part. Don't ever even think about scoring now because probably couldn't get approved probably for any more student loans given the amount you have right now. But two, there's no reason or need to go into further debt for education when you have all the education in the world right there. So
yeah, I agree. I definitely, and that's what I've been told, several times, is that right now I really even shouldn't, try to pursue more education. Like my manager, when I worked for Spark Foundry, he was a senior VP of analytics. And when him and I would have conversations as far as where I was trying to take my career path, he would say the same thing. Same thing with the guy, Lewis Williams, from who was also a VP for another advertising agency. They both kind of were like, you already have enough education. Like, you need to actually get into your career. And that's literally where I'm at right now, is that I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, where am I supposed to be working? Or, what company am I supposed to be working for? So strategically, what I started to think about was, with me trying to have a sports marketing firm and an NIL agency, I enrolled into, well, yeah, there actually is more, Sports Management Worldwide, which they offer different like courses along the lines of sports. So like within the sports industry, because I have a sports marketing firm, but I haven't actually started to actually make money from it. So when I enrolled into the course with athlete management, I've been trained, worked with.
What did that cost?
I think that one class is like maybe a couple thousand.
Okay. Couple thousand. Have you completed that course?
No, that's where I'm currently at right now. I have to do another informational interview with a compliance officer from a college in order for me to complete that particular class and get my certification as a contract advisor.
Okay. So a lot there then. Okay. I guess my one piece of advice, no more courses, no more classes, no more. It sounds like you've gotten all the education in the world. You have all that brain power. So we got to figure out how to put it to work versus, hey, let's go into more education and get that, because you don't need that at this point. Let's talk about your current monthly expenses and budget then. So current income, you said you're making projected between 40 and 50,000 this year. And is that on a recurring basis right now? I mean, you said you have different stuff with your different agencies, government contracts. So like, what is your monthly, like for the month of June, how much should you be making in the month of June right now?
For the month of June, I haven't really made, I'll probably say like my last paycheck was from substitute teaching. So the last, I have a debt consolidation chart on my computer I'm trying to pull up on my phone because my computer's.
Okay, so only $500 in June,
Yeah,
and July is looking like that if unless you get this FedEx job or another job that pops up.
yeah.
So that's definitely the number one issue right now is obviously income. And then let's go through your monthly expenses then. So rent, you're paying $1,600 a month right now in rent.
That's how much I was paying. I stay with my girlfriend now. I'll probably say it's like I think she pays like less than 1,000. She's paying like $700 or $800. I think it's like $750 or $800.
And are you contributing at all to it right now or no?
Not right now, but my plan is to kind of split the rent. So it'll be about $400 a month, which I mean that's a big jump. $1,500 to $400 a month. All right.
Yeah, if you can drop down from 16 to 400, obviously it's hard to make any contributions right now when we have no income coming in. Then we got the fun car auto and transport section. So car insurance $100 a month. You got your $650 car payment, and are you spending $300 a month on gas right now?
Yeah, my car for me to fill up my car, it's about 70. I'll probably say about $70 a month.
Where are we driving so much where you fill it up 4 times a month right now?
So whenever I drive back to my parents, that burns probably about a quarter tank of gas. And I really haven't been traveling much, to be honest. Outside of me just going back and forth from Grand Rapids to Elkhart, I don't really travel too much outside of that. So like if I was still at my parents' house, I'll probably say maybe I would probably fill up maybe twice a month, so maybe like 150 a month is how much it would be. But I just kind of assume that if I'm filling up my tank every week, then it would probably be around that. Because I feel like I guess I want to kind of
Overestimated then.
overestimate it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I'll move it down to more accurate just so we have a better picture where you're at right now. So 150 on gas, groceries you put 150, so your total necessities $1,050. We got subscriptions you put 15, eating out 100, entertainment 50, health and fitness 60, travel 500. This was sent me a few weeks ago. Are we traveling at all right now, or I'm hoping we're not?
No, my plan for the next 6 months is to put together an actual financial projection, work on my goals. Just because the last year for me has been everything just kind of fell apart for me after I had that job, and I've been trying to get back on my feet since then.
I understand that's a lot. So you definitely, I would say let's not wait months to do that, but hopefully this conversation will kind of help you figure out what is the plan moving forward, what are some things to do. Like travel should be a big no right now. Subscriptions should probably be a big no. It's only $15, but anything right now should not be doing that. Eating out should not be eating out. Entertainment, I mean, entertainment's fun, but find parks or things you can walk in and enjoy nature. But like right now, when we don't have income right now, it's hard to justify any expenses there. Health and fitness, if you're going to the gym, stuff like that, that's okay. But I'm not sure what the $60 a month for health and fitness you were estimating is.
Oh, that was I had a different gym membership before. I was working out at this place called the Other Body Shop. So that gym was pretty nice. It had like boxing bags, had a sauna, shower, locker room. Then also just had like the regular fitness stuff. So the price for that one was a little bit more, but it was like bodybuilder type of gym versus now I just have a membership of Planet Fitness, which is roughly about, I think I signed up for the Black Card membership was $25 a month.
Okay, so that puts your total fund money, which frankly I would remove. I'm just gonna remove it because we're gonna move the budget to where it should be. So we've the only thing in total fund money is health and fitness at $25. I mean, total living expense would be $1,075 since eating every meal. That's what that is. That does not include credit card payments. That does not include like obviously the apartment, other debts, stuff of that nature that will have to be paid back as well. I'm not sure what the minimum payments and stuff of that is, or if you have on any payment plans, but $1,075 is the initial baseline to break even. So looking at, these are some old statements I have. So I see right now, I don't know how many credit cards you have open right now.
I'm only at 2 credit cards. I learned early on with credit. I'm not a big fan of credit cards, honestly.
You want a piece of advice when it comes to credit cards? Cut them up and don't use them, because I mean, credit card debt is 30% interest rates. You can't afford to do that. It's only going to give you opportunity to spend money that you don't have. And looking at, I mean, this is one card. It looks like last year, one card you paid about $290 worth of fees and interest on it. On this other card, so that's one card from last year. And then this is a statement for May to April.
Is that for Capital One?
Yeah, this is all Capital One. So paying interest on that is not what we want to do. And then this other one is $75 roughly throughout the year. But I mean, looking at this card, this is February 20th to March 21st. You spend $1,000 on this credit card. So it's just allowing you to spend money that you don't have at the time. I mean, it's stuff like you spend $95 on Roku, more Roku channels. You've got Starbucks. You've got $75 at a vitamin shop. You got New York Fried Chicken in Grand Rapids. You've got Calvin Klein. We spent $65.
Not gonna lie, I love Calvin Klein, man.
Calvin Klein's got nice stuff, but when you got no income coming in March, why are we spending $65 there?
Yeah.
That's what the thing with credit cards is. It allows you to spend money you don't have, and if you only operate on a cash basis with your debit card, hey, guess what? You can't buy that because your card's gonna go, your bank account's gonna go to zero. You're gonna overdraft. But we got a bunch of stuff with. I mean, I guess you're keeping your prized possession of your car clean because you got a $33 car wash on there as well. We're buying stuff on TikTok Shop for $20, Popeyes for $20, Eating Out for $50, another Eating Out for $20. So like credit cards right now, it's like that is the first thing that will help you slow down your spending because you physically cannot spend money you don't have if you don't operate with credit cards. And yes, if you were paying your credit cards off in full every single month, I don't have an issue with you using credit cards. But the issue right now is you're not paying them off in full every single month. You're overspending on them, and without any income, it's gonna tempt you to go out to Popeyes. It's gonna tempt you to go out to buy stuff on TikTok Shop. It's gonna tempt you to go out to eat. And so I would get rid of these credit cards, cut them up. Absolute worst case, which some people are like, oh, I want to save this for an emergency. Put it in a block of ice and put it in the freezer. That way you can't swipe it. You can't go out to dinner with it, and it creates friction. But worst case scenario, you need to use it for an emergency at some point. You could have the ability to use it, but like you got to put yourself some friction between yourself and these credit cards. Otherwise, it's gonna get worse. And right now, thankfully, your credit card debt's $2,500. It's not. I've seen $100,000 worth of credit card debt before, and so $2,500 is not much compared to that. It's still a lot when you got 25% interest on it. But at $2,500 right now, if you continue to spend on these, it could be $4,000 next month, $5,000 next month, and it will just continue to rack up. And so, like, let's nip it in the butt right now and stop using those until we're debt free. We can stick to a budget. Then maybe we can revisit credit cards. Are you open to trying that?
Yeah, honestly, man, since I've moved out and been able to actually, get a new place, or not even worry about a new place, but even when I was in that job that I had before, I think I was paying a lot of money towards subscriptions. Like I had, NBA TV, NFL Network, a lot of those like small subscriptions, even when it came down to like stuff that had subscriptions with, like with Apple, and
they add up quick.
They do. They definitely do. And what it was I had my Chase account was connected to one thing, but I was using my credit union to be able to take care of most of my bigger expenses, like my rent, my car payment, and stuff like that. So my Chase account never had more than, less, maybe like $1,000, because I would only transfer. I think I put like maybe $500 from each paycheck into that account specifically for that. Like I didn't really use my Chase account much because I was using most of that towards subscriptions. So now that I don't have neither one of those accounts, my plan now is to first get another job and then open up another account with maybe like Bank of America or someplace where I can be able to actually have like a business account as well and be able to start, because my plan is to, if I can, get into the government contracting. Once I win my first government contract, pay off a lot of the stuff that I have, a lot of my expenses or a lot of my debts. Like I have an Afterpay account, have a firm account that I still owe on. So being able to pay those down first and then using the rest of that money towards, investments. Because I've always been into, finances and stocks and stuff. So I also, purchase a lot of stocks every now and then. Like when I see, a random stock that's like less than $5 to $10 per share, I'll go and I'll purchase X amount of shares for. Like I remember when JCPenney's, when they went bankrupt, I purchased like a ton of shares of that just because I was like, okay, well clearly, it's a market where it's down right now, and it's not going to hurt to buy X amount of shares for a company if the price of it is like less than $2 or so.
So let's touch on a few things there. First, investing when you're in debt right now, not very smart, because the average return of the S&P 500, which is basically the top 500 companies in America by market cap, is 9 to 11% in the last 30 years. And when we have credit card debt that's accruing at 25% interest, or even your car loan that's 9% interest, you're not out earning the interest on those with investing in the stock market. And so what you should do, in my opinion, is until you're out of debt, let's forget investing. The only investing I'd be a proponent of is, say you go get another job and they have a 401k match, and say they'll match 5% if you put 5% in. Okay, great. Put 5% in, get their 5% match. That's an automatic 100% return on your investment. That's going to outperform a credit card. That's going to outperform a car loan. Otherwise, if you're trying to invest in single stocks or index funds right now, and you're hoping and praying you're going to outperform credit card debt or some of these other debts, it's just not worth the risk. Yes, some years the stock market's up 20%, other years it's down 20%. And so it's not worth the risk versus reward investing in stocks when you have debt right now. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree. Especially if the interest of your debts are more than the interest of yours, then it's not. It's kind of like being pretty much like upside down in the loan again.
Exactly. And I'm a proponent really of anything over 5%. Don't even worry about investing. Maybe a mortgage, if it's like 6%, 7%, maybe. But car loans, student loans, anything over 5%, I'm like, hey, hustle to pay this off as quickly as possible. Under 5% depends on the situation. Some situations I'm a proponent of it. Some I'm not. It really depends on the person's personal situation, their viewpoint on debt. Me personally, I'm more the proponent of pay everything off as quickly as possible, no matter the interest rate. But there are instances like if you have a mortgage at 2.5% or 3%, yeah, it can make sense to invest that money versus pay it off, depending on your situation. But the other thing about investing is you're talking about investing in single stocks. So we just met an hour ago, and investing in single stocks, I don't think you're going to be the next Warren Buffett. And I say that because Warren Buffett started doing investing in stocks when he was however old, and he sits there and studies balance sheets every single day, income statements, listens to every single earnings call of public stocks, and he is just in the nitty gritty of stocks. And the odds of you or me outperforming the stock market, like an index fund, is very unlikely. It's like 90% of actively managed like Wall Street funds underperform the average of the stock market. So the stock market averages 10% a year over the last 30 years. It means like 90% of people that are paid full-time to do this, to try to outperform the market, don't even do it. So why should I think I can do it? Why should you think you can do it? I tried to do this in 2021. I lost a lot of money because I was like, oh, I think I'm smart. The stock market's going up. I can pick a tech stock and it'll go up. And then guess what? The next couple months later, I look and my investments are down 80, 90%. I realized, oh, I'm not the next Warren Buffett. I'm going to stop investing in single stocks and I'm going to invest only in index funds. And then that way I'm diversified across hundreds of companies versus in a single company. Are you familiar with index funds?
No, so you say invest in index funds?
Yeah, so index funds, think of it as a basket of stocks. So the S&P 500 is the top 500 companies in America based off of market cap. And there's a few other criteria that to fit as well. So you got companies like Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, Nvidia, Google, all these companies are in it. So instead of me saying, hey, I'm going to go invest in your example, with JCPenney, I'm going to put $1,000 in JCPenney. JCPenney goes up. Hey, guess what? I make money. JCPenney goes to zero. Guess what? I lose all my money. But if I put $1,000 into an index fund that owns 500 stocks, if company 300 goes bankrupt, guess what? I have 499 other companies in there that are de-risking me from a single company going bankrupt. And so it diversifies you across a portfolio of companies versus being just consolidated down into a single company and your entire income or your entire investment is based off of that one company. So it just diversifies you. It's just a basket of stocks. And like you might own 5% of that might be Apple, 5% might be Microsoft, 5% might be Nvidia, but then you got hundreds of other companies that are 1%, 0.5%, 0.1%, and it just diversifies you as the markets go up and down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'll just send you resources on that as well, but that's just the best way, in my opinion, to invest because I'm not going to be the next Warren Buffett. You probably won't be the next Warren Buffett. If you invest in index funds and you're at least diversified across dozens and dozens of companies, and if all those companies go to zero, then guess what? We got a bigger problem on our hands in the world if Microsoft, Apple, and every other one of the top 500 companies in America goes to zero, or if you're in an international fund, all those companies go to zero. We have much bigger problems to worry about in this world.
Gotcha.
So that's when it comes to investing. But so let's talk about kind of what, in my opinion, kind of the next steps for you are given your current situation and kind of diving through your finances. So number one, as we both know, the job is the number one priority because without income, it's difficult to change your future. It's difficult to pay your bills. And so you're doing the right thing when it comes to applying to 10 to 20 jobs a week. But I'd like to see, okay, how can you increase that to 20 to 40? Challenge yourself. Next week, try to do 5 a day. Sit down tomorrow for an hour, 2 hours, apply to 5 jobs a day. Next day, five a day. Another thing I would do And one of my friends recently did this when she was looking for a new job. Is she would reach out to dozens of people on LinkedIn or email every single week at companies that she wanted to work for. She'd find companies both local and in different cities or that had remote jobs and connect to people that are at that company, whether it's a creative director or it was someone in a certain department that she wanted to work with or HR. And she'd reach out to them and say, hey, my name is X, Y, and Z. Would love to chat, have coffee. Would love to learn more about you and your career and just have conversations with people in your career industry that you want to go into. And then maybe those people might open up doors and say, oh, we're hiring for this role, or oh, hey, I can introduce you to HR, or the HR person might say, oh, yeah, you're a great fit for this role. But you got to start networking, using your network, finding people at companies or places that you want to work, and how can you wiggle your way through the door? Because you're right, if you just submit your resume and expect to get a job, it's just a program that's running through all the resumes right now, and the odds are not in your favor. So what can you do and stand out beyond just normal submitting your resume? And it's finding other people in the company to talk to. Who do you have connections with that might have gone to one of your universities that you've gone to that you have connection with, but find different ways to get in the door. Try to get meetings with those people and just have conversations, whether that's in person or on Zoom. Does that make sense? Is that something you're open to trying?
Yeah, I would. I'm definitely. Well, I mean, that's kind of what my plan was when it came to me actually trying to, like apply for jobs. But the thing that I kind of like struggle with right now is trying to actually figure out what direction or what kind of, because I mean, there's tons of jobs to apply for it. I know, software engineers popular, software developers, and I'm kind of on the brink of trying to figure out what type of job or what type of career path I want to be able to apply for. Because when I had the job with Spark Foundry, I was actually preparing myself to kind of, land my next role because I had those interviews with them. So I started in 21 of November. I had my first interview for an associate director job, maybe like March of 22, April 22. And I had another job or the other interview around that same time for the $200,000 job. But then I didn't get either one of those. So I kind of just stuck with the job with Spark Foundry. But I didn't just kind of let those interviews just, be a failure for me. I was like, okay, well, I need to kind of equip myself with some more credentials that I feel like will kind of stand out. Because mind you, I went to a small D3 school for undergrad, which I kind of understood the power of networking. So I understood that, once I met John Shoemate, who was my mentor, that kind of opened up a different realm once I got to the graduate level. But then once I got the job within Spark Foundry, I seen that they were like one of the top advertising agencies. I seen that Publicis Group was like one of the largest advertising agencies in the world. So they had tuition reimbursement or education assistance. So I did a few Ivy League certifications with Wharton. I did a marketing analytics.
You're just trying to do more and more education everywhere you go. Like that's you.
The reason why though was because I don't have the experience. So when I had the job as an analytics manager, I felt like if I stick with this job for about 2 or 3 years, and if recruiters are seeing my resume now and they want to put me in an associate director role, then I need to kind of navigate my career path towards that way.
But aren't you already doing that with the role that you're in and the experience and the previous MBA you have? Aren't you just currently building that resume as it is? Like you don't need more education, you don't need more certificates to do that. You have experience and you have like right now, obviously, if you want to go the software developer route, obviously that's a whole different conversation and question, like a whole different skill set. But like right now, what you should be doing is applying a job that you have experience for, that you have the credentials for, and you have plenty of credentials. Don't sell yourself short. You have plenty of credentials with your education, with your experience working for the last few years in different industries and analytics with your MBA. So don't sell yourself short on that. Find things that you know how to do. Like you talk about different financial analysis and stuff you've done before. There's roles like that you could be applying for. There's stuff that you could do in analytics and marketing that you have experience with as well. And so you're selling yourself way too short here with your skill sets, with your experience. And what you need to do is be leaning heavily into what your previous experiences are, what you do, the portfolio that you built up over the years too, working with clients and brands at these companies, the work they've done there, and showcase that. You don't need to go find a new certificate. No one cares about a new certificate from a new school. They care about, hey, what has Eric done in the workforce and what clients has he worked with, what work has he done on those clients, and how can he help us improve X, Y, and Z with our business. And so that's where you need to start is, hey, I'm Eric Walker. I'm experienced in these X, Y, and Z areas, and I am going to go apply for these roles, list out different types of roles and criteria that you are fit for in a candidate based off your previous experience. Don't worry about the software development roles. Don't worry about X, Y, and Z. Don't worry about anything. Like, okay, if you want to go be a CFO of a 10,000 person company, obviously not applying to those types of things because you don't have the experience for that. But if you want to go and do analytics for another marketing company that you've done previously, hey, let's start with those types of roles and expand what are the things outside of that that you can apply to as well. But don't sell yourself too short. I think that's one thing that I've noticed the entire conversation is you continue to sell yourself short in terms of your experience and what you've done so far, that you are always looking for what else should I add to my resume to get to where I want to be. And you don't need to do that. You can get to where you want to be with what you currently
I
have.
think the reason why I have that, I don't know why, but I feel like for whatever reason, I have like this thing. For whatever reason, I feel like I have like this timeline or something where I feel like if I don't get all of my credentials and stuff taken care of early on, then once I've working someplace, because I don't want to end up being what's the saying where you beating a dead horse or something like that, where it's just like I'm just like continuously in a rat race every day, doing the same thing over and over and over for the next 5-10 years. And then I'm not, building the skills that I need to be able to go from an analytics manager to a associate director, or I'm not, gaining the skills that I would need to go from one position to another because I have to be in that job for X amount of years. So I think that that's what it is that I feel like for instance, when I was working as an analytics manager, I ideally was looking to try to, get promoted into an associate director level. And even my manager had told me, you're probably you might want to start looking for more opportunities because I don't really have any more, like we don't really have much more going on right now. So when he started telling me that, I didn't really know like what that meant. I didn't know that that meant that I'll probably be losing my job in the next few months because at the time they had equipped me with doing a quarterly business review, a quarterly business report, a nomenclature project, and then also the World Cup campaign, putting together like the performance measurements from a brand lift study that we did. So I didn't really know what I was going to be doing next, but I did a course with Elevator called Becoming a Marketing Director. So once I ended up losing or being termed from that position, I felt like I had enough credentials to be able to apply for or to be able to sit as an associate director or even a marketing director for a company because of all the stuff that I had worked on before. But the thing that I don't have is I don't have, if they look for, okay, how many years of experience do you have, as a marketing executive or a marketing coordinator and then a marketing manager. Like I don't have that ideal career trajectory where you're going from a marketing coordinator up to a marketing director. My resume doesn't look like. So I think that that's why I always try to fall back onto, okay, well, what kind of certifications?
Yeah, I think what you can do is when you get a new job or new role, is like, okay, you're the analytics manager role. Where do I want to go? And figure out, okay, do I need to be in this analytics role for a year, 2 years? And then beyond that, okay, maybe I need to start looking for jobs 12 months in or 16 months in or 18 months in to then leapfrog you to the next role. And I mean, that's where a lot of people, especially in today's day and age, they stay at a company for a year to 2 years and then they start jumping to other roles. And that's how they climb faster and get to where they want to go. And so that's what I'd say you need to do is like, start with jobs that you have experience with right now that you're fit. And if that's where you want to go, okay, what are some things that can leap you to these other roles where you have a career change or a job change or promotion from new roles every year or two? But don't sell yourself short. Don't be looking outward for new certifications or things like that. Focus on you in the now with your experience. Use that to get a job, and then use that experience to then go land a new job every 1 to 2 years. And that's going to help you grow and get to the point you need to be. Okay, so first and foremost priority is the job. Continue to hustle, challenge yourself, apply to 5 jobs a day, and challenge yourself to reach out and find people in different companies and areas that you want to work in and meet those people. Reach them out, try to just connect with them, learn about their career path, find mentors in the world that can help point you in the right direction. Second, the biggest thing you need to start doing is budgeting. And you need to have a written plan every single month. I'll send you some resource stuff on budgeting, some tools, but you need to know, okay, I spent $500 on groceries last month or $200 on whatever category. So you can realize how much you're overspending in certain areas or even what you're spending. I don't know if you're overspending. You don't know if you're overspending if you're not tracking your expenses. So I have a spreadsheet and I have an app that I can see every single month how much I spend on food, on shopping, on clothes, on vehicles for the last like 7 years. And I can see every single month, I can say, okay, this is how much I spent May of 2023 or May of 2017. I can go in and see how much I actually spent because every single transaction is categorized. So you need to make sure that you are tracking every single expense so you can cut back on areas, like you said, with the subscriptions. You can cut back on those areas. Or you don't know how much money you spend on groceries unless you track everything. Or gas, for example. How much you spend on gas? Is it 300 or is it actually 150? And if you track everything and you can see on a given month how much you spend, it gives you much better visualization into your current financial situation. So you can make changes, you can make tweaks, you can increase budgets, decrease budgets, whatever it is. Number 3, credit cards. The credit cards need to go. And like I said, I challenge you just to go 30 days or 60 days. Set a goal for yourself and challenge yourself. Can you not use them for 30 or 60 days? I don't care which it is. Cut them up, put them in the freezer, something where they're out of touch. But I can promise you, you will be surprised. You can go 30, 60 days without a credit card. It's going to be scary because you're going to have the money in your bank account to do it at the time. But it's also going to make sure you don't go out to eat. Or you don't go to Calvin Klein and buy $65 worth of stuff from Calvin Klein, because you won't be able to do that if you are using a debit card. You'd be a lot more mindful of it. And then, so obviously there's different things here. Rent, we've already talked about. So you're living with your girlfriend now, so your rent expense has gone down drastically, not paying right now, but once you get a job, okay, how can you contribute? That rent goes from $1,600 down to $400 a month. That is obviously a big relief there from $1,600. The car, I don't know what we can do with the car, because it sounds like you're upside down about $17,000 on it, and there's not really a whole lot you could do.
And that's what I was thinking about. What I thought about doing was, my parents, they have a car that's already paid off. My mom was suggesting I take that car because she's making payments now on my current car because of my job situation. So what I told her was, I was like, well, maybe I can just use, and I don't know if I'll do this now, but I was going to use the car that was paid off to use it as collateral for a personal loan, and then use the money from the personal loan to pay off some of my current expenses, like some of those accounts with the firm, Afterpay, all of those things. I don't know if that's a good idea now, but
that's so one, that in theory that could work if the loan was like a lower interest rate. But the issue with that is, if you're just moving debt around, if you're using your parents' vehicle as collateral to take out another loan, that then you're gonna have to pay that loan back to them to then just pay off your other debt. It's just basically moving stuff around. If you had $50,000 worth of credit card debt and you said, okay, I can go get a personal loan for 9% interest rate versus 30%, yeah, I'd be like, okay, let's do that all day. But with these small little debts, I don't think I would do it. I don't think I'd put your parents' car at risk. The one thing you could do is, if your mom is paying your car loan right now, $650 a month, one thing you technically could do is you could sell your car for $28,000. If you can get that, maybe you can get 30, 32. You use that to pay down the car loan from 45 to about 15,000, and then you're sitting with only a $15,000 loan left on that. The car is gone, and you probably have to take out a personal loan for that, whatever it is, but that could get your monthly payment down. You need the interest rate to be lower than 9%. You don't want to go get a personal loan for like 25%. So that's another issue with that too. It's like, that's something I would definitely look at. If your parents are willing and saying, hey, Eric, you can use this car to help you get out of the situation, especially if they're paying for it, it's only going to benefit them at the current time, is, hey, can we sell the Jeep for $30,000 and we have $15,000 we still owe on it? Can we then go get a personal loan for a 9 or lower percent interest rate than what the car had? That will lower your monthly payment and get rid of the car that's not a blessing right now. And so that's something you can definitely look at. That's something I would look at if your parents are nice enough to do that. But also the downside of that, you have to make sure that doesn't cause issues or tensions with your family, because family money is obviously a hot topic and can also cause a lot of internal relationship issues. So I don't know if that would help the current situation with your mom paying for that $650 a month payment right now, or Herb. That could be worth a conversation with them and just laying out what are some options here.
So you're saying that I should sell a car to them, or just sell a car in general, and then
No, sell the Jeep to whoever will pay the most money for it. That's $30,000, $35,000, or whatever you can get that to. Go take it to dealerships, take it online, Kelley Blue Book, see what is that worth. Just go sell that to a stranger. They take that car. They give you $30,000 to $35,000. Hopefully, you then use that money to pay down the car loan. Don't go spend that money. Don't use it on living expenses. Go use that on the car loan that is $45,000 right now. Get that balance down as low as possible, and then you'll probably have to get a personal loan for the difference of that. So you need to figure out, what would that difference be? What would that interest rate of that personal loan be? Could you qualify for a personal loan for that? But basically what that's doing is, you can't sell credit card debt. You can't sell student loans, but you can sell a car and reduce that loan balance down. If your parents didn't have a car that you could use that's paid off, that'd be a different story, because then how are you going to get around places? But this is a situation that, if they're nice enough to allow you to do that, this could be something to look at least, and see you have options. Otherwise, if you didn't have that option, obviously you couldn't do that. You'd have to sell the car and take public transportation, or you're kind of just sitting duck right there. So that's something to look at. Can you sell the Jeep? Your parents are not buying it. So go sell it to someone on the internet, to dealership, through private party stuff, and use that to pay down the loan. That will reduce the monthly payment, and hopefully alleviate some stress or monthly payments with your mother taking over those. But that's an option just to look at. And I'd say after this call, like this weekend, look and see what are some options that what could you sell that for? Take it to some dealerships, get some numbers, and just see have that conversation with the parents. What is that option there? Shoot me an email with, okay, this is what we could do, what we could sell it for, what interest rate on a new loan for the difference would be. And I can give you my feedback on that. But that's at least something to play with and have the ability to look at.
Is that personal loan the difference between how much the current loan is and how much the value of the car is? I would have to take a personal loan out to fill that gap in.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you have $45,000 on the car, but you only sell it for $30,000, you're still responsible for that $15,000 difference. And so you'd be having to take out a personal loan for that difference. And that's where you have to be careful. You can't if you take out a personal loan at like 25% interest rate, that would not be a good situation to be in. But if it's a comparable interest rate to your car loan, that could be something to look at. So that's why you have to be you need to go out around and shop. Don't take the first offer on selling the car. Don't take the first offer on a personal loan. Go around, get 3 or 4 different options from different places and see, okay, these are the options. Sleep on it for a few days. Email me what you have, and we can see, okay, what is maybe a good situation to look at from here. But right now, like I said, you can't sell the student loans. You can't sell the credit card loans. So it's like, what are some options we can do to lower the monthly bills, lower the monthly payments? And that's something to at least look at and see what are your options there.
Okay. And that's kind of, that might be a good idea.
Do not go and just collateralize, take a loan out off the paid off car and go use that to pay off your debt, because then that's just taking an asset from your parents and paying off your debt, and it just creates a whole another messy situation.
Okay.
So from there, budgeting, we needed to start attacking the debt. Once you have a full-time job and we clean up some of these other messes and you have a budget in place. Are you familiar with what the debt snowball route is?
Isn't that what Dave Ramsey talks about?
Yeah, it is, exactly.
So if you have, like, say you got 4 accounts and you're paying $100 towards those 4 accounts and $25 in each one of them, and once you pay account A off, you don't change what you're using towards all of them, but you take that $25 and then you divvy it up amongst the other 3 accounts. Once you pay that second account off, now you have that $100 that you're putting towards all 3 of the accounts. You just put them towards those 2 accounts, and you're still making that monthly payment to pay down your balances. But instead of you changing how much you're paying out, you just take, instead of it being X amount of accounts, you start to put that same money and divvy it up in the other accounts, right?
Yeah, so it's basically listing your debts from smallest to largest. That's probably the biggest component of it. So like right now we have storage unit $500, other debts $1,250 is what you had, credit card $2,500, apartment $2,500, car loan $45,000, and then student loans $254,000. So you pay the minimum payments across all of them, and every extra dollar you have is $500 a month, $200 a month. You throw that at the storage unit first. So once the storage unit is paid off, then you allocate that to the other. So that's the biggest difference between what you said and what I said is you attack minimum payments and everything, and every extra dollar goes towards the smallest balance first. Then once the smallest balance paid off, it goes to the second smallest balance and the third smallest balance, and then it spirals it up. It's like student loans you'll be paying the minimum payments on until all those other debts cleared off. And that way you get these little small things cleared up first, and it'll be like, you'll be excited. You'll be like, okay, great, I paid off the storage unit. Then great, I paid off these other debts. Then great, I paid off these credit cards. And you start seeing momentum that way. Like, okay, I paid off 4 debts. I'm making progress on it. Versus right now, if you just start attacking the student loans, I mean, you're not going to see progress at all on a $250,000 balance. So it gives that psychological win with money is, hey, I'm getting these small wins. I'm paying off debt. Let's keep going. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
So that's how paying off debt snowball route is, in my opinion, the best way to go about it. Stop investing until you're out of debt. We talked about this a few minutes ago, but make sure don't be investing in the stock market. Don't be investing in single stocks until we're out of debt. The only thing would be if you get a company match for your 401k and you go up to that match just to get that free 100% return on your investment, basically. That's something I am a proponent of. Besides that, I'm not. Single stocks, learn about index funds. I'll send you some resources on that. And then moving forward, I guess my biggest suggestions would be, 1, no more education. You already have all the education. You already have all the knowledge. You're experienced. You're smart. You know what you're doing. So don't take out more loans. Don't go more education, buy courses, whatever it is. Never pull from retirement accounts again. Obviously, you learned the hard way last year, getting yourself in a situation with pulling from retirement accounts, and let's leave them for retirement because it just is bad habits. So let's say no more to retirement accounts, pulling from retirement accounts again, and let's say no more to debt. Whether that's credit cards, whether that's new car loans, whether that's student loans, you got to make a promise to yourself, hey, I'm not going to take out debt ever again unless it's a mortgage when you're completely debt-free. And that if you're buying well below your means. But until then, let's stay away from car loans, stay away from personal loans, stay away from credit cards, because that is the best way to build wealth, whether it's for your business or it's for your personal. As you start swiping credit cards, going to debt for these different things, it becomes a lot more difficult to stay afloat when things happen. And life's a roller coaster, whether you get laid off, terminated, you lose a client on the business side, or whatever it is, or you have a medical emergency. If you have all these extra debt payments that are every single month, life's a lot harder when you have to make those every single month. And those are guaranteed payments you have to make. So I'd say no more debt. And same thing like on the business side, hustle on the business side, but make sure don't put more money into it. Ad agencies, you can get off the ground with just using your time and energy and your creative ability and design skills in your computer. Don't go spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on new things. There's a lot of free tools too for building websites, marketing, and stuff like that. So make sure you do the most bootstrapped approach possible to ensure that you set yourself up for success. And then after that, the biggest thing is educate yourself. One of the first steps coming on this podcast, having an open, honest conversation about money, and I'll send you a lot of resources, but you have to continue to educate yourself, whether it's listening to Dave Ramsey, listening to Ramit Sethi, listening to a bunch of other people, listening to my show, but have more conversations with money, learn more about money, how to pay off debt, learn about investing. Like I said, don't be investing right now, but you can at least educate yourself about index funds so that when the time comes that you're ready to invest, you know what you're doing, how to budget. But life is all about education. But there's a lot of free education out there too when it comes to finances on YouTube, on podcasts, and use that to your advantage so you can educate yourself and have yourself think about money more before you go and buy something in the store. You're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't buy this because this is not a necessity. Does that make sense, Eric?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Do you think that it's possible for me to be able to pay off the amount that I currently have within a 4-year time frame?
4-year time frame is definitely possible. Is it a stretch? Yes. That would be, basically $75,000 and some change a year. And so that is not an easy feat. Is it possible? It is. It's possible if you're making 120 to 150 and you live on, as Dave Ramsey says, on beans and rice for the next 4 years, then hey, if you live with your girlfriend paying $400 a month in rent, the car payment is almost gone because we're selling it and driving your parents' paid off car, then yeah, there's a possibility you could do this. It might be 3 years, it might be 5 years, it might be 6 years. It might mean, hey, you're going to pick up nights and weekend jobs at being a waiter at a nice restaurant so you can make a couple $100 a weekend. It might be DoorDash. It might be side gigs that you can do those things to pay it off. Do I think it's possible? Yes. Do I think it's going to be easy? No, because you're going to have temptations of Calvin Klein. You're going to have temptations of new credit card offers. You're going to have temptations of shiny new cars or vacations, but it's definitely possible to do it. It just depends on how bad you want it. How bad are you willing to do it? How extreme are you willing to go to do it? Well, obviously taking care of yourself mentally and physically, like you can't do it to where work yourself to the point of death, but how far are you willing to do it for next 2 years, next 3 years, next 4 years to put yourself in an opportunity to do it? I think it's possible. It's not an easy route, but it is possible. If you didn't have an MBA, if you weren't making $112,000 a year, then probably not. If you're going to be a full-time teacher making $40,000 or $50,000 a year, no, it's not possible. With your previous income, previous jobs, and your education, I definitely think you have the ability to get a job paying over $100,000 a year like you have before. And if you keep your expenses low, you can throw a lot of money at this debt really quickly. So, between the car and the storage unit and credit cards or whatever, that's $52,000. I think you can be out of that in 12 months. I think those alone, everything but the student loans, you can be out of in 12 months. The student loans is the part that is a bigger piece, obviously, which might take a little bit more time, but I think 100% you can get out of the other stuff in the next 12 months if you stick to budget, if you hustle and find a new job that's paying well, and you pick up some side hustles on nights and weekends to bring an additional $1,000 a month that you can throw towards debt. So,
Okay.
Eric, what is your one piece of advice you give to someone in a similar situation as you? Because you're not alone. Student loans in America, rampant, car loans, credit cards. You're living the American dream right now, so you're not alone. So what is one piece of advice you'd give to someone in a similar situation as you?
Honestly, man, if I had to go back to being 17, 18 years old again, I would probably have taken the route of going through the military first for the first 4 years, and probably would have taken a different approach on college. Just because I feel like right now it took a while for my college education to actually pay off, and because of that, that's what most of my debt is mostly from student loan debt. So if I had to go back to being 18 again, I probably would have taken the route of going into the military for a few years, gotten out, figured out a career path within that 4-year time frame, and probably would have used a lot of, government assistance or education assistance to try to avoid having to go into student loan debt to pay for my education. And then I also would have had, 4 years of experience whether it was like working as an engineer or they have jobs and careers in HR, finance. They have, careers in from IT is like one of the biggest industries right now. So I would definitely have taken a different approach with my career path straight out of high school into college, and I probably would have taken a different. But then again, I mean, that would mean I would take back the 4 years of playing college football, which is an experience that not everybody gets to have to be a college athlete. So give or take, I'll probably say just some of those first decisions that I made fresh out of college within those first 5 to 6 years, I probably would have took a different approach about being more serious about my career within those first few years.
Yeah, makes sense. And yeah, that's definitely something that, I mean, again, why I started the show is there's not a lot of education out there or experiences or stories from people like yourself that would like to change some things in the past. It might not be the undergrad you changed, but maybe it's the grad school. How you went about that? Maybe it was finding an employer that paid for your grad school versus taking out all the loans. Maybe it's not going to another education system after that. But these are the kind of conversations that need to be had in America, because right now the school system and education system and society teaches everyone, hey, go into debt, go get student loans, go get as much education as possible. And people don't understand the full ramifications of the decisions. And we're entrusting 17, 18, 19-year-olds of making these decisions that are going to affect their life, the rest of their lives. So
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, in my opinion, I feel like financial literacy should be taught to us all at within high school, because where does it make sense at to give an 18, 19-year-old $20,000, $30,000, not even a $20,000, $30,000 loan, but even a credit card. You can get approved for a credit card at like 18, 19 for like $5,000. Where does that make sense at logically to give somebody that early who doesn't even have it?
you know where it makes sense? The company's making the money.
Exactly.
I'm not currently using any more credit cards and haven't been applying for any. I don't really like the credit system. Nor have I been a big fan of credit cards, which, I mean, I understand when my dad kind of suggested never using credit cards in life. But credit cards and how they affect our spending habits, I've never been a big fan of them. So I haven't really applied or tried to look for any additional lines of credit to be able to pay for any expenses or to cover anything at all. I would say my top goals are going to be to try to save anywhere from $50 to $100 per paycheck once I actually land a higher paying job, and also being able to try to pay off all of my credit card debt by the end of 2024 if possible. I want to be able to actually go into 2025 next year with no credit card debt and at least start to pay off one of my student loan balances, which I think is roughly less than about $5,000. So before the end of the year, I feel like if I can make roughly anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000 at minimum, that will put me in a good enough position to be able to pay off most of my the current debt that I currently have outside of my automobile expense. And then I also want to be able to pay off the student loan balance, and I've already started to work with a recruiter from Robert Half. So hopefully from that relationship and that conversation, I'll be able to actually land another significantly higher paying job. If not, being equivalent to the previous role that I had, working with Spark Foundry as an analytics manager. So I feel like those are the kind of goals that I'm kind of setting for myself in the next 90 days.